Apple's finally doing it. I've got not one, not two, but 6 pieces of Apple news here. And in all of these cases, Apple's making a pretty big change when it comes to their products. But all of these 6 changes are not just very overdue, but also fairly controversial.
But before that, I've been using this app called Emma, and it's been one of my favorite finance apps that I've ever used. The reason for this being that it's the only finance app that I could find that can display all of my bank accounts, personal and business, in one place. In my case, it supported all the accounts that I wanted to add. And the really cool thing is that you can also have offline accounts for assets like vehicles, real estate, and more, and then track your entire net worth over time. You can use our affiliate link below to get a free 7-day trial on any paid Emma plan.
Okay, so the very first change is when it comes to the SIM slots inside the iPhone. And by the way, if you're wondering why my background looks so different, it's because I'm in Amsterdam for a secret tech event. Okay, so some of you may know that with the introduction of the iPhone 14, Apple removed the physical SIM card slot from every new iPhone model sold in the US. And instead, you had to rely on eSIM to connect to a network. But they haven't done this anywhere else outside of the US. Well, according to a fresh new report coming from The Information, Apple plans on removing the physical SIM card slot from more regions next year. Specifically, all versions of the iPhone 17 Air, that super thin iPhone that Apple's making, down will lack a physical SIM tray entirely, no matter where you buy it from. And I wouldn't be surprised if the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max will also lack the SIM card slot in certain regions too. Now, here's the thing. On one side, this is a great change, but on the other side, this is terrible. So let's start with the positive side, why removing the SIM card slot is actually a good move. You see, the SIM card slot takes up a lot of internal space. So by removing it entirely, you get quite a bit of internal space back. Space that could, for example, be used for a larger battery. Plus, having eSIM as the only option means that more and more carriers will start adopting it. And once every carrier supports eSIM, eSIM prices will go down, and you'll never have to pop into any store to buy a physical SIM when you travel. Thieves would also not be able to remove the SIM card from your phone to disconnect it from cellular, which means that you'll always be able to track your phone. So yeah, eSIM is pretty great. Now, on the negative side, the reality is that eSIM is still not that widely adopted, which means that if you travel, going into a physical store and buying a prepaid SIM with, 20 gigabytes of data is going to be far cheaper than buying an eSIM straight from your device. But other than this pricing and availability downside, eSIM is honestly just better. So by Apple removing it from at least one of the iPhone 17 models, they'll be able to push eSIM adoption even more. So I do see this as being a good thing. In fact, despite the US model being eSIM only, Apple still has not done anything with that extra space gained inside. For example, we've only got this plastic black piece here taking up all of the space, likely in order for Apple not to give the US model some advantages over the international models. But if all models in all regions are eSIM only, that extra space will likely then be utilized. Like I said, possibly for a larger battery, and I'm all up for that. Okay, now the second change that Apple is finally doing is adding OLED onto their MacBooks. Finally. This will start with the MacBook Pros, however, according to a report from TrendForce, it will only happen between 2026 to 2027. So why is Apple taking so long with this when there are already so many Windows laptops that come with great OLED screens? Well, I think that's because of 2 reasons. Number 1, Apple more than likely wants to match or even exceed the brightness of the current MacBook Pro models, which max out at 1600 nits. Now, in order to match that brightness, they will need to use tandem OLED, or essentially 2 OLED panels stacked on top of each other, like they've done with the new M4 iPad Pros. And I'm assuming that Samsung and LG, Apple's display manufacturers, just don't have enough production capability to make enough of these tandem panels for both the iPad Pro and the MacBook Pros until 2026 or 2027. And then the second reason is that I'm pretty sure that Apple would want to link the switch to OLED to a new MacBook Pro redesign as well. Apple tends to update their MacBook Pro designs every 4 to 5 years. We got the last redesign in 2021, Before that, it was 2016. Another 5 years would bring us into 2026. And I think the reason why TrendForce's report said between 2026 to 2027 is because Apple's MacBook Pros get updated usually in October or November, which would put us at the end of 2026, hence in that between 2026 to 2027 timeframe. And yes, while this extra long wait does seem disappointing, I also think that the current MacBook Pros displays are just brilliant. And the mini LED blooming, while there, isn't really quite that bad. And for the most part, when you're using it normally, it will already look like OLED, just with a much higher brightness than what the current OLED laptops are capable of. Okay, the third change that Apple is planning on finally doing is apparently releasing an actual TV. I don't know if you guys remember, but this isn't the first time Apple's been rumored to want to release a TV. There were tons of rumors about this back in 2006, as well as 2011, 2014, 2016, and even onwards, with Steve Jobs making numerous references across the years that Apple was interested in breaking into the TV market. Walt Mossberg even said that Steve was planning to reinvent the TV market after stepping down as Apple CEO in August of 2021, but sadly he never got to do that as he passed away just 2 months later. Now, Apple did release the Apple TV in 2007 with multiple versions of it over the years, as well as Apple TV Plus. Although none of them became as successful as I think Apple and Steve wanted them to be. And I do honestly think that if Apple had released an actual TV instead of the current Apple TV box, with a super clean and iconic Apple design, as well as some unique features like all of the existing Apple TV box features plus a couple of extras, such as maybe a built-in camera for FaceTiming, I do think that could have done very, very well. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well, as on how Apple could approach an actual TV if they are indeed doing one, which according to the latest news, they are definitely considering it. Which brings me to the fourth change that Apple is making, or in this case, not making, and that is the third generation of AirPods Maxes. As according to Mark Gurman, Apple apparently has no concrete plans at all to update the AirPods Maxes again in any meaningful way, with the current model being expected for the foreseeable future. And honestly, I was already disappointed in what Apple did with its second-gen AirPods Maxes, but now I'm even more disappointed. I mean, look, I know, the AirPods Maxes, they don't sell well. They're over-the-head headphones, which are less popular than the small earbuds that most people buy, and on top of that, they're also one of the most expensive ones on the market. But I mean, when Apple updated them with the second gens, whilst they did give them a USB-C port and some new colors, both of which were nice to see, they haven't changed anything else. They've still got the old H1 chip rather than the H2 that was introduced back in 2022. And because of that, they actually lack features such as adaptive audio, conversation awareness, personalized volume, pairing is also slower as the H2 chip did improve on that as well, and noise cancelling, while pretty good on the AirPods Maxes already, that H2 chip would have made it even better. And that's the thing, next year, the AirPods Pro's third gens are expected to be released, which will likely come with the H3 chip. So having these far more expensive AirPods Maxes in the store for the next few years that still come with the old H1 is just so messed up and screams just bare minimum effort from Apple's end here. I mean, surely updating that chip alone and nothing else cannot be that costly, right? Apparently, Apple doesn't think it's even worth the effort, so what do you guys think?
And by the way, on a bit of a separate note, we've just dropped this beautiful 8K wallpapers pack called Wonderful Waterfalls by Mathy. It comes in 10 beautiful waterfall designs that look incredible on our studio display here, especially since they're all in 8K. But of course, you can apply them on your smartphone as well as on your tablet and give your lock screen a fresh new coat of paint. Simply download our app Wallpapers, which you can get for free on iOS and Android by searching or by using the links below.
And the fifth change that Apple is finally making that may also prove to be quite controversial is that they may be discontinuing their product red color. So for those of you who don't know, all of Apple's red color options for their iPods, iPhones, Apple Watches, and their accessories from 2006 onwards were not called red, but product red. However, you may have noticed that we haven't really had any product red products for quite some time now. The iPhone 16s do not come in red, the iPhone 15s didn't either, and while the product red color option was available on the Apple Watch Series 9, obviously that's been discontinued now. And the product red band that Apple sold with it was discontinued as well. So at this point, the only product red product that Apple is still selling is the iPhone SE 2, which of course will be replaced in March. What's even more interesting is that Apple is now using different branding for their latest Beats products that do come in red, such as Statement Red and Transparent Red. So While I don't think that Apple has stopped releasing Red products, I do believe that the product Red brand may have come to an end. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. And stay tuned for more updates in the coming future. I'm Daniel, this means ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.